All right, teachers, and especially new teachers. 3 things to have in your teacher toolbox. 3 very important things that aren't brought out as much. There's stuff that we do in teacher training and all this. As we know, we all have to go to teacher training, continuing education stuff. But stuff for people, especially new teachers, mentor or mentors. Get some mentors around, please. People who have been in, and I'm talking about like someone experienced, and that takes age. You can't have experience without having done the thing for a while, and that takes age and some wisdom and success. Someone who's seen a lot of time in education, hundreds or thousands of students, tens or hundreds of teachers, decades of changes and what's gone on and why and how. That's what we need. Just like in one thing I heard, a good story, in some place in Africa, some older elephants were shot to make way for the new ones. There's only limited territory. We got to do this. Then along comes a drought. The elephants perish. A lot of them. I don't know if I don't remember from what I read if it was all or part or what, or fraction, but they didn't know what to do. If people would have left things alone and had the sense to do so, if we would have had more wisdom and realized how important wisdom is for life, the older elephants would have been around. They're the only ones that had the knowledge of where to go to get water in a drought. Kill off the older, kill off the wisdom, kill off the experience, kill off the survival knowledge. No survival knowledge, no survival. The younger elephants didn't know where to go. The older elephants that were killed did, and that's gone. Or one reason there's sometimes some trouble with some coyotes is not the coyotes, it's human fault. Because some humans, ignorantly or whatever, sometimes stupidly, there's different reasons for it. They kill some coyotes, the older ones are gone, they're not going to train the younger ones to avoid and stay the hell away from humans. The younger ones, they don't know better, they're going to be curious, they're going to go around. Or it's been proven that when the older males are around, the younger males are more controlled and their testosterone changes occur at a different rate and all that. And so they're going to be going to around people less, and they're going to be more controlled. They're going to learn from the older ones, but you kill them, and the havoc that ensues is human fault. It ain't the coyotes, ain't the elephants. It's totally on some humans. Some, not all. Some humans do good, great work. Some don't. But learn from people who've been around for a long time, who've been through fads, knows when you should avoid something, how to teach well in certain situations. Get some mentors, please. And study some logic texts, please. Teaching is an intellectual profession. It's about communicating ideas, learning, thinking, forming concepts, forming generalizations, developing chains of reasoning. The way we do that, the mechanics of it, is logic. The less we know of logic, the less good we'll be at teaching. Being good at logic, you know how to put things together, how things are connected to other areas of life, if you immerse yourself in it, you know what concrete examples lead to a concept, what the examples have in common, how they contrast, the shades and variations, and how things that we have a concept for, how some things differ from others. How do domestic cats differ from bobcats, but how are they the same? How do bobcats and mountain lions and domestic cats differ from dogs and coyotes and wolves, and how are they the same? Look at certain examples. That's how we get it, by looking at And if we know philosophically how we form concepts by looking at individual things, not by like doing airy-fairy stuff in our head without experience. If we know how to do it right, then we have a much better understanding of a subject, and we can teach students much better, and they'll understand it. Like I've seen a lot of failures to understand basic things about projectiles because people are lost in their heads. If students would, if they'd be taught what things are that are projectiles, and if you study those things, then some of the things that you do in physics are like obvious, you know? It's like right there in your experience. Plus you gotta have contrast. It's important in logic to know about how similarity and difference come into play. Contrast is the engine of induction, forming generalizations. Contrast is the engine of concept formation. Like, as a basic example, obvious chair versus table. The shapes are different. Everybody learns it easily when when we're young. The different shapes, different functions, obvious, you know? Or like domestic cat, domestic dog. You see a bunch of examples, obvious. If you try to like study it without knowing anything in a book, it'd be hard. You know, this is the word dog, this is the word cat. How are they different and why? Well, who cares? Like, it's just a made up arbitrary thing. Look in the real world, it's obvious. But the things to study most are things that are in traditional logic books, symbolic logic, blah, waste of time for most people. Just total silliness, you know, except for like computer programming would be good and some things like that. But useless. Some deduction, but not too much. But fallacies, of course, and deduction is what some people learn a lot. So you can get some arguments going. But then the things to learn more are forming concepts, classification, you know, how things are similar and different, more abstract and less abstract. You know, we're talking about knowledge. What's more abstract and what's less abstract? What do students need to know to build up to a higher level concept and all that? How do you break a concept into shades or variations of that thing? Or how do you get these things and put them into a new concept and so on? What's more general, what's less general, more abstract, less abstract? And then it can be used a lot when you're teaching, you know, classify. What is a teacher? He's like a leader. Okay, what can you learn about leaders that helps you teach? What is a teacher? Someone who's to like keep students interested. Who else keeps people interested? An entertainer, a performer. What can you learn from entertainers or performers that helps you teach? Things like that. Classification is important. And it can help clarify a lot of things in students' minds about what they've learned and where it's going and how one thing builds on another. Concepts, classification, definition. Definition is a tool of research. You can memorize like some word string, but definition, properly speaking, is identifying the essential of some things you've learned. Your own. In my investigation of reality, this is the thing that explains the most about what it is to be a cat, or what it is to be a quadratic equation, or what it is to be a political system, you know? Definition is a tool of research. There's ways we formulate good definitions. There's rules, genus and differentia, identifying the essence of a thing, being not too broad, not too narrow, stuff like that. It's important. And induction, a good book on induction that grasps that it's valid instead of a lot of modern silliness that says induction is invalid or it's only probable or not, stuff like that. Because, you know, it's all induction is only probable. Well, then that's only probable. If all A is B, anytime you do that, it's only probable, not certain. Well, then, like I say, then saying all induction is probable is only probable. It's like contradictory and silly. Induction is valid. It's just look at the rules of when it's valid and when it's not. So those things, very important. And how we form knowledge how we think, how we form concepts, how we form generalizations, because generalizations are what we use in deductions. And again, if this is only probable, then all of our deductions are only probable. They're not certain, because we're dealing with just probabilistic stuff. Then the whole game's over. But then saying that all knowledge is only probable, well, you're certain about that, so it's a contradiction. If all knowledge is only probable, or it's uncertain, well, then you're uncertain about that. I don't know. I think maybe all knowledge is uncertain, but I'm not sure. It's a contradiction. But that's not what people do. They say, oh, you can't trust yourself. We don't really know. But they're contradicting themselves there, trying to socially abuse people or misuse them in some ways, try to put a trick over on some people. But these things are most important in this, an argument analysis. Argument analysis. And have mentors, logic text, and then of course know some basic commonsensical psychology, individual and group. And we all need to get better at this. I sure the hell do. Could be better at all this. I'm not perfect. No one is. We all have stuff to learn. And ways to improve. We all have our strengths and weaknesses, as you know. But know about individual psychology, how to work with and help individual students work with their strengths, shore up their weaknesses, group dynamics, because working with 1 or 2 people is different than working with 5 or 6. It's very different than working with 20 or 30. When the numbers increase, the dynamics changes a lot. So be aware of that, when you're teaching, especially when you're beginning, and ask other teachers about it. Go visit them too. See how they handle different classes. How would you handle a class of 6? How would you handle a class of 12? How would you handle a class of 25? Very different group dynamics, as I say, different psychology of what's going on. Think about how do groups work, or little subgroups, because even if there's 20, there's going to be little subgroups, little cliques in there, because no one can talk to seriously connect with 20 people at one time. You can stand up and kind of talk to them, but if you know from experience, or especially if there's 100, not everyone is always listening. And know about individual psychology, all the differences. So there's some basics, but of course, a lifetime of study in all of these things. Have some mentors, experienced, which means older, gets wiser, make sure they've been successful. Some people have been good at what they do. Look at the students that they turn out and see if they're sensible, happy, rational people. Logic text, teaching traditional logic, know about some basic psychology. And then you'll make a lot of progress. And teachers, thank you for what you do.